What's up, dudes? You're watching me play Contagion, and I could not go to bed today without addressing the big news that happened in gaming today about Greg Miller and Colin Moriarty deciding that they were done. IGN. I'm a moderate fan of you. Like I have my irritations with them, just like anybody else. Um, but that's big news considering just how big of a footprint, it seems like both Colin and Greg have at IGN. And at the risk of sounding like a total Greg Miller fanboy and stuff, like just about anything that he does at IGN, the episodes of podcasts that he's on and the videos that he's in, it seems like that content coming out of IGN is always better than everything else. And like I said, I'm not like totally in love with Greg Miller or anything like that. It's just creatively he makes things better that he's a part of, and that's not a bad thing. And I'm guessing that's exactly why both him and Colin and then the other two buddies that I totally forget their names. But I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that's why they decided that they're going to start their own video game site. Kind of funny. I think it's Kind of Funny Games, if I remember it. When you have a guy who is one just charismatic, and two, I mean, he just seems. This is about Greg Miller. He just seems like a completely nice guy. I've never personally met him. I bet we haven't even been in the same state before. Um, but he just seems, from the outside looking in, from what little interaction I get just by listening to Podcast Beyond that he does and the other stuff that's been on IGN. He just seems like a really nice guy. And people obviously respond to that, which is why he's built up such a, you know, it, such a like a devoted fan base. I don't want to say it's huge because it's, if you're comparing it to huge to what, I guess, to other IGN members, yeah, he probably makes everybody else, anybody else who has a fan base look pretty small just because, again, of the type of guy that he is. So he's kind of been the one, if you follow him for any amount of time, uh, he's the one that's kind of, I guess, put himself out there the most. And I think that's what people like most about him. He just seems more personable than everybody else. So anyway, I've kind of sucked up to Greg Miller enough, but so basically, when those two guys leave, it's not. I mean, it is a big deal for IGN, at least for all the fans and things like that, because I mean that's a big part of what IGN is right now is Greg Miller and to a lesser degree, but not insignificant, Colin Moriarty. Like they're involved in just about everything it seems that's going on at IGN. What I don't get is how something like two guys leaving a company can spark such an opinion from certain groups of people. And I'm not saying everybody. I'm definitely not saying everybody on the internet. And it's not even the majority. It is definitely the minority of people. But there's so many people that I read today that had just crazy opinions about this whole thing, but with these two leaving. Like, here's my thing, and maybe it's just the way I was raised. I don't know, but I've kind of been the one. Like, if you don't if you don't have something nice to say, just don't say it at all. And when you become an adult, that kind of goes out the window because you're allowed to say whatever the hell you want. And it's no different in the case of these two guys, or these four guys, sorry. So they left IGN, they announced it this morning, and there's only one thing that I question about what they're doing, and that's, I guess, the way that they did it. They didn't seem they almost seemed, how do I put this without making them sound like dicks? Almost like they were excited to announce that we quit IGN. Like, not, when you have professionals like these guys are, more often than not, when you leave that job, it's not I quit. You don't announce it that way. It's after I don't even know how long. I think it was 8 years that Greg was at IGN. After 8 years and many memories, blah blah blah, I've decided to move on to bigger and better things in life. I'm going to chase my dreams of starting up my own gaming site. Blah 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 blah. It's something a little more, I guess, diplomatic than posting a picture like you did saying, "Oh, I quit," and I quit IGN. I think that's exactly what the picture said. Like that seems really blunt and almost like it's a parting shot, like he's trying to take one last sucker punch at IGN before they left. So I guess that's the only real problem that I could possibly find with all that, with them leaving. And realistically, it's not a big deal. Like I don't care enough about what the way they said it to form an opinion on the matter, if that makes any sense. Like I have my suspicions, but everything they've said has kind of proven it to be not true. Like when I read the way that they announced they're quitting, I was kind of thinking, oh, kind of sounds a little bit like they are, not leaving on good terms, I guess is the way to put it. But then I listened to some of their live stream today, and it sounds like they're still coming back for Podcast Beyond, but they're going to be freelancers, which like that tells me that they probably did not leave on bad terms. So maybe they just did things differently than what everybody else does, and there's nothing wrong with that. And in fact, maybe it's their desire to do things differently that has made them have such a devoted fan base, which has allowed them to do what they're doing, to go off and start their own gaming website. So I guess that is the only thing that I could find, about both of these guys, all four of these guys. I keep saying both, like there's only two of them, but there's actually four of them. That's the only real gripe that you could possibly have with them. So I don't get how people can have such vitriolic opinions of all these guys just based on the fact that they're leaving IGN. I mean, today I hopped on Twitter and I was just as surprised as everybody else to see like holy shit, these two guys who have for the longest time been, you know, two of the bigger faces at IGN, like for the longest time, like as long as I've been going there and reading their news. It's like, holy shit, I did not see that coming. Like a few weeks ago I was listening to an episode of Podcast Beyond and they seemed like everything was the same as it has been for, I guess, years now. And all of a sudden this comes out and I was surprised, but I kind of had the opinion of it that I'm like, it nobody wants this. If you're in a professional career and you have the opportunity to move on to bigger and better things, you're almost foolish not to try it. Like maybe these two guys, if I say it again, I swear, these four guys didn't feel like there was anywhere else for them to go at IGN. And I would say Greg Miller was. I don't know. Let's put it this way: I don't know what else Greg Miller could have done at IGN. I don't know what a promotion for him would look like other than, making more money and not being in videos and providing content. Like, I just don't know. Like, I think Greg Miller, in terms of the personalities at IGN, was probably at the tip of the pyramid. I could be wrong, but I guess from my perception, that's the way I would picture it. So I don't blame him one bit if he wants to, he's like, well, I've got nowhere else to go here. There's no more moving up for me. So I think it's time for me to go and do what I've obviously been wanting to do. Because for the longest time, he's had Game Over Greggy, like the YouTube channel, and doing all of his conversation with Colin stuff, which it's actually pretty interesting if you're into just the two guys jibber jabbering back and forth. Like it's actually I personally found it very interesting. But to get back to what I was saying is so these two guys when they leave, I was just as surprised as anybody else, but I I didn't have a strong enough opinion to open my mouth about it. There's people that are just not fans of Greg Miller or Colin Moriarty or the other two guys. And those people, their appropriate reaction is, I don't know, good for them. I don't care one way or the other. Meh. More power to them. Whatever you want to do in life. And that's that. And that is probably the proper way to do that, you know? But then you have this subset of people who are going, oh, fuck those guys. They're a bunch of Sony fanboys. I hope they fall on their face, or fall flat on their face and just completely fail. Really, dude? I mean, come on. There is nothing that any of these guys could have ever done to you in your life other than report on a console that you don't particularly care for that should give you that sort of opinion of them. Like, unless he physically screwed you over in some way, there's no conceivable reason why you should have that vitriolic opinion of any of the guys who are leaving IGN. I just do not get it. And I hate the internet on days like today so much, even though it's only a minority of people. It's like, what is wrong with people that they can go to that place? It just does not make any sense to me. But I'm almost at a loss for words because it bothers me so much. But if you can't be happy for the guys, do you really have to put out an opinion on it? Like, not every single subject in gaming has to have a black and a white side. The people that are happy for Colin and Greg and Nick and I forget the other guy's name, they don't need they don't need a flip side of the coin where they get chastised for having an opinion or being fans of these guys. They don't need that. I finally found that blue goddamn card too. It's just there are certain scenarios and certain events where the flip side isn't necessary. Like you don't have to have a counter argument or a counterpoint to every single thing. Okay? There we go. So it's like, be happy for the guys. They're chasing their dreams. If you don't care for what they're doing, that's fine. Nobody's forcing you to. Nobody ever forced you to listen to Podcast Beyond either. And nobody's forcing you to go to their new website. So just let it be what it is. Let them do their thing. They don't need you to shit on what they're trying to do before they ever get it off the ground. It's not called for. So I guess that's my whole opinion on the matter. It's one of those days where the minority of people manages to get under my skin, and in any other scenario, I don't know. I'm happy for the guys. Like I said at the beginning, I've never met them personally. I don't know them personally. They don't even know I exist. But at the same time, it's like it is possible to be happy for someone even though they have a different opinion than you do. And I sincerely hope those guys do very well, because maybe, just maybe, if people are so quick to claim bias, at IGN or Polygon or any site, maybe they can do something a little bit different, and different isn't a bad thing. In fact, who knows? Maybe one day, Kind of Funny Games, kind of a weird name, I guess, personally, but maybe Kind of Funny Games will be a rival to IGN because they do, they've been in the walls of IGN, they know how the thing works, and they know that, they can see all the information of what people respond to and what they don't respond to. so they can go start their own new thing. And maybe there's some suits at IGN that, are like, oh, we're gonna do it this way because I make the money and I said so. And now that they've got their own ideas, they can go and start their own thing, and you know they they can do things their way, and maybe they'll find success. But to completely outright just tear down what they're trying to do before it ever gets started, it seems like the opposite of what we as gamers should be wanting to do. Like, we should want to have more, more competition out there. It's the same reason why, you know, I don't think anybody wants to see PlayStation and or Xbox go away. You having them both around is a good thing. It 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 breeds the competition, and it makes them better in the end. Because someone is always in second place between the two, and the person who's in second place is the one that's trying the hardest to get people to buy their console. And that's when you get great things like amazing bundle deals, and you know where you're getting, you're buying the console and you're getting 3 free games with it, like we were seeing around Black Friday and stuff. Like, that is what you only get with competition. If Sony were the only one around, or Xbox were the only one around, or Microsoft were the only one around, they could just be complacent and they wouldn't have to do things any differently. So everybody likes to bitch about gaming journalism. So when two guys who, maybe they're completely fed up with the way things are going, maybe they recognize that things suck the way they are, they're trying to go start a new thing, and yet there's people out there who are, it's like, oh, fuck them guys, it's just gonna be more of the same, I hope they fail. It's like, come on, like, give them a shot before they can even, before you decide that what they're doing is wrong, or it doesn't need to exist. I guess that's my whole opinion on the matter. It just, competition is a good thing, and that is one of the things where, like, I listened to enough of Podcast Beyond to know what Colin Moriarty's politics are. He's kind of the libertarian type, I guess. But I know he would feel the same way. Like, competition is a good thing. There's nothing wrong with that. It only makes things better, and the better stuff is the one that survives. So if one day in gaming, maybe IGN is not around, and because these guys paid attention in their time that they were there, and then they improved on the things that were not so good, maybe Kind of Funny Games, will be the number one gaming site around. Is it likely? Not entirely likely, but it is possible. Never say never. But like I said a couple times now, just don't write it off or shit on it before they've ever had the chance to get it going, because you don't need that. Nobody needs that, and it doesn't do anybody any good. But I think the video's probably gotten long enough. You've been watching me play Contagion and ramble on and fanboy over Colin Moriarty and Greg Miller and his buddies. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit like, hit subscribe on the bottom. You can follow me on Twitter at Dollmytee. You can go to dollmytee.com. I post these all in there as well. But that's it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. And until I get a time to make another video,